Today is Veterans Day. To discuss how veterans continue their service to the country via community work well after they leave the military, we're bringing in our next guest. Jimmy Graham, a veteran Navy SEAL and former CIA protective officer. He's the CEO of Able Shepherd, an elite program training first responders, businesses, schools, churches, and civilians to stay safe and protect others during active threats. So, Jimmy, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for your service, of course. Since it's Veterans Day today, I just wanted to start off with asking you, what do you think are some of the values, core values, that should be celebrated today?
I think the core values, honor, commitment, courage from the military, once they're embedded in you, is a good starting place for any business. As most people may not realize, military is not just guns and Navy SEALs and all that stuff. Pretty much any job you can think of there's a military equivalent, and it's a good start to launch off into supporting our nation.
So, with that being said, what is the best way to honor those who served?
I would say when I deployed, there were two things on my mind specifically. It was take care of my kids, take care of my country, right? So I'm going to go over here because that's what I signed up for. Many people put themselves in harm's way. I say risk there right now for our nation's future. And then coming back, it's like, take care of my kids, make sure that they have a nation when they grow up. And I think there's some things right now where we're giving up fundamentally that we need to get back to make sure we have a nation for our kids and grandkids.
So, Jimmy, you have 2 decades under your belt serving in some of the world's most high-risk environments. So can we ask you, what does service mean to you personally?
Service, obviously, defending the nation meant, going to foreign lands and risking everything. You didn't know. Everybody who signed up and enlisted, they signed a blank check. The answer was everything. Like, I don't know what you're going to do with me, but I'm signing in, saying I'm in. Here's a blank check, and I'm in. What it looks like now at 51 with 2 kids, everybody says, oh, SEALs, writing books and being in movies and all that. I have written 2 books. One of them it's called The Return of Man. It's about being men again and having integrity and decency and raising children, watching your language and not being a drunken fool, right? Another one is called How Do You Love a Fish? And it's a kid's book on simple things like looking people in the eye and shaking their hand. It's a big, big deal. When my kids hear the national anthem, they stand up straight, they put their hand on their heart, and they have a national pride. Those things are more important than we think, and it's our job to teach them that.
So how did your time in service shape the person you are today? Would things be different if you didn't serve?
I think there's ownership whenever you serve. You go out and defend the nation, go deploy, and kind of do what you're told as you'd figure out what kind of man or woman you're going to be. And then there comes a time if you got out and it was like, I think I can do this on my own. This whole Jimmy's life, I think I can run this. So then you take a swing at it and you realize I did a lot of growing up in the Navy, in the SEAL teams. I needed adventure. I needed challenge. I needed to put all that energy somewhere or it was going to go somewhere bad. So I think that did help shape me. I don't have a lot of regrets, but then coming into it, after pushing yourself, let's say in SEAL training, you realize there's so much more that you can give. So where other people kind of stagger and get tired, you just kind of don't. There's more if you need to tap into it, and you keep going.
Is there a message, Jimmy, you would like to send to the younger generation about service?
Yeah, I meet with young people regularly talking about going into the military, and I would ask, it catches them off guard, what are you bringing? Because they think about, what can I get from the military? Can I get a paycheck on the 1st and the 15th? Can I get my school paid for and all that? I said, what are you bringing? Like, what are you bringing to the SEAL teams that I love, that community I love? So have value, be a good young man, be a good young woman, and add that to the SEAL teams, add that to the military, add that. Don't just be thinking about what can I get out of this? Because what our nation needs is strong people serving. That's exactly what we need. And that's both in the military and after the military. I would invite veterans back into active duty of sorts for this great nation. There's places you can serve within your home, within your community, within, even running for office and all that. And I'd like to see more vets protecting our kids in schools and churches. I'd like to see them in elected office.
And Jimmy, if we could, I would like to talk a little bit about your organization. Can you tell us yes. What is Able Shepherd? What inspired you to start it? What makes the program different from others?
Yeah, it's an emergency readiness program, and I would say if you're thinking about how do I protect kids? Here's a protective principle. To get to them, you have to go through me, like physically. And when it's winner take all, it's time to stand up for our children. We're very good at protecting our money and our diplomats, but not our kids. So when I got out of the SEAL teams and being a protective officer for the CIA's GRS program, that's really what resonated and spoke to me. But I thought, well, I'm going to have to hang this up. That's an exact fit for protecting our churches and schools. Here's what makes us different. I would ask, what makes you a better man or woman? Because that's the starting place, spiritually, mentally, then physically. And it's not just a physical thing that's attacking our children. It's an ideology. It's spiritual and mental health. So we go into all of it and we say, let's be better men and women. While you're here, let's continue to learn intellectually and mental health, and let's physically be prepared and capable to protect our nation's children, which is our future.
So on that note, then, can you talk to us about how can training veterans improve community safety?
It means giving men their dignity back. So giving men and women their dignity back and saying, hey, we've been called non-essential, like as citizens. You go from being in the SEAL teams and being in charge of multi-million-dollar equipment and having all this responsibility, literally life and death of your team in your hands, and then struggling to find the next stage. So when I transitioned out of the military, it's like nothing fits, almost like a custom hat shop. Nothing fits. It's like the hat maker came out and said, hey, no, this one we're going to make together. So if that thing you're looking for doesn't exist, maybe you're supposed to create it. Maybe you're supposed to pray about your calling and find out what this world needs, not what will make money. What were you built for? What does the world need? And I see a lot of people asking permission, and they're asking, I need to, how do we do things here? You get elected for office and say, how do we do things here? Well, we're broken, so don't ask. Just do what's right. So you don't need permission to do what's right. So step out like you once did when you enlisted and go do the right thing for this nation. And I wouldn't even ask permission. I wouldn't ask advice. Just go do it.
Okay, Jimmy, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I'll just ask you one more thing. Could you also talk to us about what service looks like, not just on the battlefield, right, but beyond that as well?
It is so demanding. So not just deploying overseas is hard because you're away from your loved ones, right? So as a single guy, as the married guys that were with me, they were pulled away from their families. I wasn't. So I am so much more patriotic now. Like I just didn't fully understand what I was sacrificing. But now at 51, I've lost buddies. I've lost a lot of friends over the years. And now as a veteran, I'm like, they're not around anymore, but their kids are and their grandkids are. So whose job is it to make a better nation for them? It's my job, right? So going away and deploying and working up and do all that was hard. But it was to them. It was for them, for the young people, for the guys that have kids. I'm so much more appreciative as I look at my children and say, there's a way that I can continue as a vet to continue to serve this nation and these kids. It's just not necessarily with a gun in my hand. There's many battles a day that you can fight, getting involved to make this nation better. And I would invite people back into, like I said, active duty for your community.
Well, Jimmy, it's been a real pleasure speaking with you today. And again, thank you for your service.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me on.